I've done this before, let me play the game. It's giving I'm here for just to fuck around.
Oh, you just couple up with Krissy. How many girls you want to have? Like, how many girls you want to have?
To me, as a man, it's broke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, Dylan Defense League, we need to be ready to defend our guy because this ain't it. I am not buying this. Oh, he's an F-boy, he's an F-boy. No, he's not. What has he done, really? What has he done? Everybody keeps blaming him that, oh, he's recoupled multiple times. He's not the only person who's recoupled multiple times. We have, Zayn has recoupled 3 times. He had Mimi, he had Zanti, and now he's with Kayla. With Mimi, she had Zayn, she had Dylan, and now she's with Steph. So the audacity to sort of make it seem like Dylan is the only person who's recoupled multiple times doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, Dylan has not chosen any of the girls. They have chosen him. On day 1, Alicia chose Dylan because she didn't want to be fighting over Zayn. So she went to Dylan because she knew there was no competition there. And then she realized, nah, I want the new shiny objects. She ran to Taylor, leaving Dylan vulnerable. And Mimi decided to save Dylan on the understanding that they would explore a connection, and if they couldn't find anything, then they would sort of move on to other people, which he did. Even when Sophie came in and she was interested, he told her, no, I can't, because I promised Mimi, I gave her my word when she saved me that this is what we're going to do. Mimi jumped ship on her own. She decided Dylan wasn't doing what she wanted, so she wanted to make him jealous. She jumped ship to Steph, and Dylan continued not doing anything. And she realized that he was actually doing way more with Sophie than he did with her, because he kissed Sophie within hours of speaking to her. Sophie was enjoying herself with Dylan until Krissy came in and she decided she deserved Dylan and Sophie didn't deserve her. She didn't even have a conversation that the moment we're exploring a connection, I don't want you to speak to Sophie. They didn't have that conversation. So why are we blaming Dylan? Why? Oh my God, my blood is boiling. I can't help myself. You know me, when I defend someone, I go hard. Last season on, Love Island UK, I went hard for Mimi. When people were jumping ship and whatever, I stayed par for the course till the very end, until everybody else jumped back in the ship and we started rowing. So I am going to be a rider for Dylan. I don't get what people say. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia, Season 6, Episode 14. After my rant yesterday, I feel much better. So, hey, here we go. I'm so excited today. Anyway, so we have Taylor and Hannah having this conversation in the bedroom, and then everybody walks in. And everyone can't understand why they're in the bedroom, just the two of them. They're wondering, is there something wrong with Hannah? Is she not feeling well? What's wrong? They keep asking her and she doesn't say anything. And then the next thing, you have Em sort of having a conversation with Tyler, asking him, are you okay? Because Em's worry is that Krissy really likes Tyler and she might pull him for a chat. And so Em is worried about that. She doesn't realize that she's actually walked into something that was way worse than anything Krissy could have done. So you then have Hannah pull Sophie for a chat, and she reveals to Hannah that she's had a conversation with Tyler, and she sort of told him that, she really has some sort of feelings for him and she wants to explore that, and she wants to know whether he's open to that. And it's like, why would you put Sophie in this mess? Sophie doesn't need to be involved in this mud. She's already got her own problems in her love triangle or love square. She's just lied to poor Mercedes and told him that she's a slow burner, when we saw also her eating Dylan's face off and he eating her face off. So she doesn't need your mess. Anyway, Sophie is then told the secret. When the girls come down, she runs into Mimi. Obviously, she's going to tell Mimi because she's closer friends with Mimi than she is with Hannah, because Hannah had their own 2 minions before they both went home. So they're having this conversation with Mimi, and Sophie reveals that, oh, I just wanted to let you know that Hannah's been saying that she wants to explore a connection with Tyler. And so she's pulled Tyler for a chat, and Tyler immediately walks upon them, and then they sort of ask him, what's going on? And he sort of says, my head is scrambled. I don't even know what to do, because he doesn't know what to do, because this is something that he wasn't expecting. And you can tell this is a hot mess, because at the end of the day, Mimi is close friends with Em. That's her closest friend since day one. So I don't think she'll be able to keep this secret for Sophie. I have a feeling that she's going to expose it. But at the end of the day, if she exposes it, it's not just Sophie who's revealed the secret. Tyler has confirmed that, yes, this is true, this has happened, and this is where we are. And for Tyler to say, oh, let's make a bet that before the end of the night, Chris is going to pull me for a conversation. And it's like, why would you say that? I knew Krissy was going to pull him for the conversation because she now knows that Dylan is not, a permanent for her. Dylan is still entertaining Sophie, and she's just seen them make out. So she's now looking for security. And because Tyler has been putting himself out there, saying he really is open to getting to know her, I now have a feeling that poor M is in trouble. So you have M walk upon them, and they're all sort of taken aback because Mimi, Tyler, and Sophie were not expecting her, and they're already talking about her. So what do? Sophie quickly pivoted, and she started saying, oh, I was just telling them about, my conversation with Dylan, blah. And it's like, oh my God, this is a hot mess. This really is a hot mess because this poor girl doesn't know what she's in for. She doesn't realize that Tyler has two other people coming after him. She's now in a love square. She's gone from a triangle with Alicia. Now she's in a square, and she doesn't stand a chance because her values and Tyler's values don't align, whereas Tyler's values and Chris's values align. And so I don't know if he's going to continue to stay with M or this is the beginning of the end for M. Just like clockwork, you have Krissy pull Taylor for a chat. I have to give it to her because at the end of the day, she was putting all her eggs in Dylan's basket, not realizing that Dylan was building something with Sophie. She thought she had stolen him. And I don't know whether she hasn't watched Love Island before and assumes that once you steal someone, that's it. You can't assume that, though. You have to keep your eyes open and sort of have other options, because at the end of the day, he was building something with Sophie. You said that when Sophie was around, he was very clingy to Sophie. So what made you think suddenly he wasn't going to go back to Sophie? Make it make sense. Anyway, she pulls Taylor for a chat. I love their conversation. I think they have a lot in common. They both want to have children. They both, have the same dog. They just get along, and they had a lot of banter between the two of them. And you can see the chemistry there. I think Taylor on his part is sort of holding back because he doesn't want to come across as the bad guy. But I think given a chance, he would actually pursue that. Anyway, he runs into M. M is asking him, are you okay? He says, I'm okay. He then pulls Zayn for a chat. I'm surprised he pulled Zayn out of all people because Zayn can't put two sentences together. So I don't get why he pulled Zayn for a chat. And it seems Zayn was suspecting something. I think when they walked into the room and he could feel something wasn't right because Tyler couldn't come out and say it. And he kept saying, oh, something has just happened. He told him about the conversation with Krissy. He said that went very well. I'm intrigued, but I don't know whether I'm interested because I want a serious relationship. I just don't want a holiday romance. And it's like, well, if you want something serious, then maybe look for someone whose values and beliefs align with you, because there's no point in hooking yourself up to someone who doesn't share the same values or who doesn't want the same things in life, because he wants to be a father one day. Em says she doesn't want to have any children. So that I always say in any show that I watch, the thing about children, someone wanting or someone not wanting, it's non-negotiable. You can't, someone will negotiate and agree because they like you, but over time that like will turn to hate. So if somebody likes something and you don't like it, then maybe part company. Well, nobody's hurt. Anyway, so it's uncomfortable because he then told, Zayn that, oh, she said she was jealous during the challenge when she saw me kissing M. And it's like, this is messy. This really is messy. So you have all the islanders get ready for bed. And in bed, Nico actually asks Hannah, is there anything I need to know? Is there anything you need to tell me? And Hannah says, no, I'm just tired. And it's like, why? These people are suspecting something, because even M was asking, is there anything I need to know? And they're both not saying anything because they've agreed that we'll wait until tomorrow. I'm actually surprised that Mimi didn't tell M anything, unless production told her, you can't reveal the secret. We need it to play out. And so maybe this is why she hasn't said anything. But I thought she was very close friends with M. I would have expected her to tell M what was going on in the villa so that M has a heads up and is aware that the guy she likes is liking somebody else. And sadly for M, from the moment she walked into the villa, she hasn't really had a connection. Taylor was her only connection. Indigo was too young for her. So I don't know how it's going to play out with the rest of the guys in the villa, whether she'll have to go to Tommy. But Tommy is annoying. Tommy is just a friend for everyone. I don't think anyone will find him romantic. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. The sleeping arrangements were interesting because nobody at all was making out, because normally you'd get a couple of people making out. No one. Zayn and Kayla were facing opposite sides. Mimi and Steph, nothing. Obviously, with Krissy, she's upset with Dylan because she's just caught Dylan doing something, so she's not going to be hugging or kissing him. That's understandable. Em is pissed off because she knows Taylor has got something that he needs to tell her, and he's told her that he'll speak to her in the morning, so she's pissed off about that. You have Hannah and Nico. Nico is pissed off because Hannah is saying she'll talk to him in the morning. And then obviously with Sophie wants Dylan. She's not bothered about Mercedes. Mercedes saved her, but that's it. There's nothing else there. In the morning, it's Oxgalo in the bedroom. The only person who's in his own little world is Tommy, because Tommy is saying, is that the best night ever? And it's understandable because he didn't have to share the bed with anyone. So I think the producers called him to confessional, and they were sort of asking him, so what's your plan of action? And he said, the truth is, none of these girls in here are my type. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I'm going to pursue these girls. No, they're not my type. I'm an airhead. I want an airhead as well. And he actually said it when Sydney was going, that, now that you are going, chances are I'm up next. I'm going next because there's nothing for me in this villa. And he and Sydney were keeping each other in the villa. That's the truth. So you have him sitting there sort of playing on his phone and just minding his own business. And it's like, this man needs to go home. He's well past his, he's overstayed his welcome. He needs to go home. You have Tyler pull Em for a chat. Initially, she was worried. I don't know whether it's because she was worried that he was going to tell her that he's now moving on and is going to Krissy, or whatever it was. She was worried about something. Hannah pulls Nico for a chat. I think she then sort of developed cold feet and must have run and spoken to the producers and was told to go back because she said, I'm going to use the loo. Then she came back. Taylor and Hannah revealed the secret. With Em, she takes it very lightly. She just laughs it off and just says, I would have never suspected that this is what you're going to say to me. If someone had said, you're going to tell me something, this was the last thing I expected. And she really didn't seem affected by it, which makes you question, does she really like this guy, or is he a convenient coupling allowing her to stay in the villa? Even he was taken aback. I think he didn't understand why she didn't have a negative reaction to it. You'd have expected her to be jealous, being Sophie and stuff, but no, she was cool. Nico was taken aback. He was surprised. He didn't expect it, but I think he saw it coming. He saw that she was pulling away. I said this couple was a convenient couple. I said from the moment they went to the hideaway and didn't do anything and started arguing over the slightest of things that she really wasn't feeling him like that. Whatever happened, whether she got the egg or whatever happened in that hideaway, they haven't been the same since then. So I don't even understand why Nico continues to want to have anything to do with her. He's saying, I thought we were the strongest couple. Everybody saw we were the strongest. And then suddenly, here we are. And it's like, well, I don't think she really liked you like that. I think she liked you because you're convenient for her to stay in the villa, and you liked her because it was convenient for you to be coupled up with her so that you could stay in the villa. So please, none of you should be surprised. Anyway, you then have Nico and Taylor go and sit down for a chat by the fire pit, and it's like, what is there to talk about, really? Because it's not Taylor's fault, it's Hannah's fault. Nico should be dealing with Hannah, and Taylor should be dealing with Em. They don't need to sort of cross partners to have conversations. It's no one's fault there, except for Hannah. I'm so confused about the Nico and Taylor conversation, because Nico is asking Taylor, so were you the one who approached her, or did she approach you? And it makes you question, so what did she say to you? What did she say to you? Because you should know who approached you first. If she told you the truth, you should know that she is the one who pulled Taylor for a chat and told Taylor that she still has feelings for him, and she's feeling jealous every time she sees him do something for Em. So why are you surprised? Why are you asking that question? I don't get it. I really don't, and I'm so confused. And so they agree to, that at the end of the day, Taylor, well, he more or less implies that he's not going to do anything, because as far as he's concerned, Hannah is, Nico's girl, so he would never go after one of his friend's girls. And it's like, it is what it is. It is what it is. If she feels the need to explore a connection with you, if you don't feel the need to do so, then be honest with her. There's no point in you telling her that you're going to think about it, unless you're just being messy in the villa and you're just trying to create unnecessary drama. Otherwise, tell her the truth. Tell her, I like you as a friend. as my mate's girlfriend, and that's it, and leave it at that. You then have Hannah busy saying, you know, I have to do what's in my best interest. I have to, you know, put myself first. And it's like, you're putting yourself first, but you're putting yourself first a little too late, because you're in a secure couple at the moment. And then suddenly you're deciding that you want to explore a connection with someone who is your partner's friend in the villa. Make that make sense? That doesn't make sense. And I don't understand how you felt or how you thought you could get away with that. Anyway, in the girls' changing room, you have Krissy having a conversation with Sophie. So Sophie's sort of asking, how are you? How was your sleep? And you have Krissy complaining that, well, Dylan, I'm not feeling him anymore. I'm now going to try and have conversations with Tyler and Tommy to see if I can sort of explore a connection with them, just because I feel like he's telling you and me the same thing. And it's like, I am not buying it. I really am not buying it, because at the end of the day, Krissy knew where she stood with Dylan the moment she stole him, because she was saying to Kayla at one point, the problem with Dylan is every time Sophie's around, he is clinging to Sophie. He is clinging to Sophie. So I don't know whether it's a good idea to pick him or not. And she went against her own sort of intuition and decided to pick someone she knew wasn't 100% all in. Now she's realized that actually he wasn't 100% all in. He just came with me just because. Now she's complaining that he's an F-boy. Why? Because he didn't stay with you. At the end of the day, this girl, Dylan, hasn't forced himself on anyone. He's had conversations. When he came into the villa, he coupled up with Alicia. Alicia didn't want him. She jumped ship. She jumped to Taylor. And then Mimi picked him up. And with Mimi, they had an agreement that as long as he was with Mimi, he wouldn't get to know anybody else outside of Mimi until he had got to know Mimi. That's when Sophie came in. Sophie was interested in Dylan. She picked him up for a date. Dylan told her the truth when she asked him, how would you feel if I picked you? And he told her, at the moment, I have promised Mimi, or I gave Mimi my word that I would get to know her first before I get to know anybody else. So at the moment, I'm not available. And she took it for that and ran with it. And she picked somebody else. She picked Indigo because Zayn had said no. And then when Mimi decided, because when the God and Goddess came in, we all remember Steph picked Sophie first, and then Mimi campaigned to be picked by Steph. And so Steph, I think, didn't want to pick Mimi from Dylan, but eventually, because Mimi was pushing, he picked Mimi, which left Dylan vulnerable. And Dylan then decided to go back to the person that he had put on hold because he was trying to be an honorable person. And that's when he explored the connection with Mimi. I know people are saying Sophie's a second pick. Sophie is not a second pick for Dylan. Dylan told her the truth. It's not like they were both available at the same time and he said to her, wait, I need to get to... She walked in, he already had a commitment to somebody else. And he couldn't turn down that commitment just because somebody he might like has walked in. He has always prioritized Sophie. He's pulled Sophie for more chats than he did Mimi or even Krissy herself. So the idea that these girls that are not getting the attention that they want from Dylan are now labeling him, I'm not buying it. And I'm really furious because it seems every Love Island, be it USA, Australia, I haven't watched France, UK, every time there's certain people that are portrayed in such a negative light that they can never ever get away from that negativity. They're stuck with it and the fans will never forgive them or allow them to sort of shake it off. And I hate it so much. Dylan Defense League, where you at? Because we need to ride. How dare they? It's the audacity. So Dylan goes for a chat with Steph and Steph is sort of asking Dylan, so what's going on? What have you been up to? So Dylan reveals that he went up to the terrace, had a conversation with Sophie and they shared a kiss. And now Steph of all people is calling out Dylan. Oh, you've been with 5 girls. Excuse you, buddy. So all these girls have picked Dylan. Dylan hasn't picked anyone. I'm sorry, Dylan hasn't picked anyone. He's had conversations with the girls. He's flirted as you expected to in Love Island. So the audacity to say, oh, you know, bro code, you shouldn't have kissed Sophie. Excuse you. You picked Mimi. You and Mimi were lying in a bed. Mimi wasn't doing anything with you until she heard that Dylan and Sophie had kissed. That's when she became open to kissing you. Where was your bro code when you stole Mimi from Dylan? Make that make sense. So the audacity to say bro code. There's no bro code. He doesn't owe Steph, Mercedes, or anyone an explanation. Sophie was his girl. They were in a couple. People came and separated them. So it is what it is. So you have Dylan have a conversation with Mercedes, and Mercedes is saying that, you know, he Dylan doesn't owe him an explanation, or he doesn't owe him anything at the end of the day, because he's not in a couple with him. Sophie's the one who owes him an explanation, or who owes him transparency. I get it. But this was tricky. This was a risk that Mercedes took. This was a risk that Krissy took, because they both know that even though Dylan and Sophie were a new couple, there still was something there that they were exploring. So the idea that they would naively think that these people would suddenly switch off their feelings for one another and concentrate on them, I'm not buying it. They know Love Island. They've watched Love Island. They've been on similar shows, so they would know for a fact that these people would still continue to explore their connection unless they had broken up, which they hadn't. So they have to be okay with it, sadly. Sophie still hasn't had a conversation with Mercedes. Mercedes is saying he's done with Sophie, and it's like, thank you. I love you, but thank you. Next, Dylan, where you at? Sophie's available. Come on. That's all I care about. It's interesting that Nico has finally decided to pull his hand out of his backside, because he's realized that his person that he was playing this game with is actually jumping ship. And if he's not careful, he will make his way home, because he can't couple up with anybody else, because everybody else is spoken for. So he decides to flirt with Krissy in the kitchen, and Krissy eats it up, because on day one, Krissy was interested, but he said he couldn't do anything because Hannah was there. And so he then sort of sat back and kept in his couple. Now he's realized that Hannah is not interested in him. He has decided to jump ship. So he then pulled Krissy for a chat, just to sort of test the waters, I think, and see where they stand and see if there's anything there. And they really seem to get along, because they are both of Greek descent. They have that in common. They were flirting. They were really appeared to be really sort of vibing off one another. Anyway, Krissy receives a text message to say, girls, prepare for a tidal wave of testosterone. It won't come out of my mouth. I don't know why. Today, you'll crown Mr. Love Island. The boys will compete in the ultimate test of brains and brawn, and you will decide the winner. Who will strut their way to glory and snuffle the title of Mr. Love Island? Hashtag world peace, hashtag world Greece. And it's a sponsor, I guess. It's a sponsor. So, hey, what can you do? So you have the girls sitting in red swimsuits, and they get to judge the guys. The guys come out in their swim trunks. Obviously, some had extra packaging. Hey, it is what it is. And then they were supposed to sort of strut. First, it was strutting as models. And everybody did amazing. Steph expected to win because he's already a model, so he wasn't going to settle for anything else. And so next up was show us your special talent. And even on the strutting, I don't get why Tommy had to put on a pair of thongs. Somebody needs to call him out. The producers need to ask him to stop. It's either he stays and he enjoys and he participates in the show, or he goes home. There's no point in him wasting everybody else's time. Anyway, for the talents, you had Tommy. He played an instrument. I don't even know what it was. Must have been one of these floaties that he picked up, and that was his instrument. You had Zayn. I don't even remember what Zayn did. It just blew away. Steph read a poem, and everyone was saying this poem could have been, him swearing at them in French, and they would have gobbled it up just because of the accent. Nico was saying he could say anything. He could say, you girls are ugly, you girls are smelly, and they would just eat it up, which they did, and wasn't surprised. Nico did push-ups with Krissy on his back. I think he was just wanting to show Hannah that, you're not the only shiny object here. With Taylor, he tied something with his tongue, and then he gave it. He sort of was holding it up, and Hannah stood up and sort of put it in her mouth, and it's like, oh my God, that's a bit too much. Dylan did sexy eyes, and then you had Sophie. Well, you had Mercedes do, the cowboy act, and it was interesting. I guess since it's from Texas, so the girls decided to crown Zayn the winner. Hey, to each their own. If that's what they think, it is what it is. And then you had Tyler go for a chat with M. And so they were having a conversation, because he's saying to her, it's hard to read you. I don't know. He was more or less implying, I don't know whether you like me romantically or whether you're just putting up with me, because I can't see anything. I don't know whether you're jealous, or I don't know whether you felt some type of way about what Hannah did, because I can't make out how you feel. I can't make out whether you actually feel something for me or you're just putting up with me for the sake of it. And she's saying, well, there's nothing to be afraid of or for me to be jealous about, because you've always liked one another and you haven't done anything. If you were going to start exploring, I would be upset if you're saying you're exploring because you really like her, because I'm not buying this, you saying, you know, I'm living by boy code. It's not guy code for you to say, you know, out of respect for Nico, you're not going to explore anything. It's either you explore it and there's something there, or you don't explore it. I feel like M is not threatened by Hannah as much as she's threatened by Chris. I think Krissy has more in common with Taylor than Hannah, and this is why M is not as bothered. I think, yes, Hannah looks like the girls that Tyler's dated before, but when it comes to, you know, qualities and morals and whatever, the bigger threat is Krissy. Anyway, Hannah and Nico go for a chat. And so Nico is sort of saying, you know, I can't continue to have my time wasted by you, with you sort of going in circles and you deciding to try to explore connections with other people. I have to do what's in my best interest. You have to do what's in your best interest, more or less. And it's like, well, the two of them are tired of playing games. I guess it's time they moved on. Or someone must have been called out by the producers and told that, you know, we're tired of the two of you playing this game. It's either you do something drastic or the two of you go home. And so I have a feeling this is why Hannah has decided to do this, because otherwise, if she was really interested in Tyler, she would have done something earlier. Or maybe she wants to make Nico jealous, and this is her way of trying to make Nico jealous. The last time someone did this, it backfired. We all remember when Mimi sort of pushed for Steph to pick her and recouple with her, and then Dylan just moved on to the next person. And when she heard that Dylan was busy making out with Sophie, she wasn't the happiest of bunnies. And I have a feeling this is the same thing that's going to happen, because the moment Nico couples up with Krissy, that's it. It's over and done with. Hannah will have to either go to Tommy or pack her bags and go home, because otherwise there's no plan B for her, because I don't think Tyler is going to explore that with her. I think Tyler is going to stay with M because he likes the fact that he can't read her, he can't make out what she's thinking. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 13. Bye guys.